Different situations in poker call for different sizes of bets. This video will serve as your guideline on typical bet sizing in a variety of common Texas Hold'em situations. Bet sizes pre-flop are referred to in terms of the big blind, whereas post-flop we reference the size of the pot to talk about bet sizes. Let's take care of the pre-flop bet sizing first. Most pre-flop bet sizes do not exceed 5 big blinds, so that's the top end of our range. At the bottom, we have the minimum bet by the rule of Texas Hold'em, which is 2 times the big blind. In between, we have a couple benchmarks, 4 big blinds, 3, and 2.5. Let's talk about each of these ranges in order from top to bottom. 5 big blinds is the biggest bet you'll see, and it's reserved for premium pairs, Jack, Jack, and up, when you're in early position. Because you want to discourage a multi-way pot, you'd like to be against 1, maybe 2 opponents. And you also want to extract value as early as possible with your premium pair and build as big of a pot as possible. With 3 big blinds, that's your middle of the road standard open raise. If you make this raise from any position with any hand you think is suitable, your opponents aren't going to think twice about it. They really can't get a read on you. It's the best all-purpose open raise bet sizing. If there's a limper in front of you, simply add 1 big blind per limper. So if there's 1 limper, this 4 big blind bet is actually the standard opening then for 1 limper. If you had 2 limpers, it would be 5 and so on. The final range we'll talk about is here at the bottom, 2.5 to 2 big blinds. There aren't really any players out there that bet between 2.5 and 3 times the big blind. But between 2 and 2.5, this has become, as the game's evolved, your standard open raise late in a tournament, particularly when there's antes and the average player's stack size is low relative to the blinds and antes. If you can get the same job done of stealing the blinds with a smaller pre-flop raise size, why not? You save precious chips, and you still probably get the small and big blind to fold most of the time. Let's talk about post-flop bet sizing now. Again, it's in terms of the pot. The biggest bet you'll normally see is 1 times the pot, and the smallest possible is 1 chip. We'll denote that as 0. The benchmarks now are 3/4 the pot, 2/3 the pot, 1/2, and 1/4. This time we'll start at the bottom and work our way up this spectrum. Any bet between 0 and 1/4 of the pot is too small to manipulate your opponent's behavior. A really large distribution of hands are priced in to call. They have explicit pot odds to see the next card. So we never recommend betting this small. There's just no mathematical reason to. As you move up the range, a bet between 1/2 and 1/4 of the pot is still small enough that a lot of draws are priced in to call, so you rarely want to use this unless you have an explicit reason. A good example is if you have a powerful draw and you're in a multi-way pot and you'd actually like multiple callers so that your implied odds, if you hit your draw, are higher because there's more money that could get into the pot on a later street. The most common bet sizing in poker are between 3/4 and 1/2 the pot. These are your all-purpose bets. 2/3 is the middle of the road on the flop and the turn, and adjust up or down depending on how you want to manipulate your opponent's actions. If you want them in, adjust a little down, and if you want them out, adjust it a little up. Or if you think they're leveling with you, maybe even a bigger raise will induce a call more often. The final range is between 3/4 and the size of the pot, and this is actually a standard river bet. If you get to the river and you're against what you think is a good hand, maybe the second best hand, you want to bet as much as possible. And as such, a pot-sized bet on the river is becoming pretty common. If it's over the size of the pot, though, this seems strange to your opponent. It's called an overbet. And you usually only do this to signal a bluff when you actually have a made hand. You might be able to trick or sucker your opponent into calling an overbet. Use these bet sizes as a guideline. They are mathematically appropriate, and they've become common bet sizing for the average player. But as you get better, don't be afraid to deviate slightly and experiment with how different bet sizes can manipulate your opponent's behavior in different situations.